Welcome to Creating from the Heart, the Artistry of Living. I'm Susie Vance, and today I'm here with Bridget Degnen. How are you, Bridget?
I'm great, Susie. How are you?
I'm good. Bridget, tell us what you're doing these days.
Well, there's a lot. So my occupation is as Cook County Commissioner. So basically that means I'm elected to represent a constituency of about 330,000 people on the Cook County Board.
Fabulous. I love this. So I bet you never thought you were going to do that when you were a kid.
No, absolutely not. No.
Because you've had quite a lot of interest along the way. I mean, this is a woman who's an engineer. This is a woman who has done many different things. So how did you get here? What happened that triggered your interest in getting involved in the government and politics? Because you have to do one to do the other, right?
Yes. Well, I would say first and foremost, I think it's really important that government has more women in it to represent us, and I have found that women execute and are excellent at multitasking. And so when there are boards with women on them, I think the outcomes are way better than if they are just all one gender, i.e. men.
But you're on the Cook County Board, and your passion is the environment.
Yes.
And you were an environmental engineer.
Well, technically, I guess I still am, right? Because I use it a lot in my current job. Yes.
So you're made for this job, I think.
I like to think so, and I think a lot of it has to do with your passion for wanting to serve, for wanting to improve things, for finding solutions and not blame when things go sideways, and being independent and really encouraging other people to think curiously about how to solve things.
Right. You got to be able to think out of the box and out of what might be your own comfort zone.
Yes.
It's just amazing to me how, some people are very tunnel visioned.
Yes.
And they need the expansion to be able to ask, what else is possible? How could we do this differently? Not how did we do it in the past? So you bring a fresh air to that group of people.
I think so. I think the other thing too is when you have a group of people, like 17 of us, it's small enough so that you have a community. It's not so big like 50 city council members in the city who can be a lot of organic conflict there. We're small enough that there's a benefit to it, but the hard part is that a lot of people want to vote the way everybody else votes, so they're not creating waves. And it's really difficult when all your friends are voting one way for you to stand up and say, I don't agree with that. Because it doesn't mean that I don't agree with you. It means I don't agree with the agenda item in front of me. But sometimes people's emotions get in there and it becomes personal when it's not intended to be personal. So I think it takes a special kind of person to be able to say, I don't agree with this agenda item for these reasons, and be independent and move things and shift them over time. And I think if you can do that, then other people start to think that way, and they say, well, maybe I don't agree with that agenda item either. And it can kind of snowball into other people kind of coming on board, and I think that's how change is made. But you need somebody to start that snowball, and it sounds a lot easier than it is sitting on that board floor.
That's true. So you've been through a lot of different changes. Were these things as you went through life, like when you graduated from high school, when you graduated from college, the different things that you did, how did they show up in your life?
Well, I would say that, I was incredibly insecure when I was in high school. I mean, I was a joiner and I had
we all are.
A lot of fun. And then the same thing in college. Like I didn't know who I was. I was trying to figure out my place in the spaces I operated in. But it wasn't really until the Peace Corps where I feel like living in West Africa and the perspective that I got so much. I got more than I ever gave. And so I think seeing people living in abject poverty who still would say, come and share a meal with me. And, you know, just the friendships I made with other Peace Corps volunteers and with people in my village, it changed me forever. And so I think after that, when people would come up to me with problems or being upset about something, I would think back and say, you're mad I stapled something the wrong way, and you're going to get really upset about it, where there's literally people dying. And so my brain has always shifted to, there's things that are going on in the world that are truly, truly terrible that need solutions, and you're not happy because X, Y, or Z. It just seems to pale in comparison, so it gives me the perspective to not engage in a way that I think
that's interesting.
Really lets me do work. And there's a levity, I think, in me because, you know, the world has to have levity to kind of counterbalance some of the more difficult things going on.
Right. Good for you. Good for you. So that took you, after the Peace Corps, where did you go? So, what was next in your life?
I traveled through South America for about 3 months overland with some friends, came home and got an engineering job. And that was, you know, hard hat, steel-toed boots, and out with the, you know, dump trucks and bulldozers.
Making it happen.
Digging up solid waste sites, cleaning them up, making sure everything was properly disposed of, coming back, writing reports, and cleaning up land so that it could be used in a beneficial way and not just stay like a dump with, you know, chemical waste on it. So I did that for about 4 years, and then I transitioned into law school, and I worked.
What took you to law school?
Because I feel like being an engineer is a very solitary life. I mean, you're out on a job with a bunch of people you hired, and then you come back, like from Appleton, Wisconsin, or Kalispell, Montana, and you come back to the city, you write your report, and you go out to your next site. And after a while, like,
gets lonely.
It's lonely. And I was the only female engineer working at that firm, and I'm not sure that I saw a future for myself eventually being a partner in management there.
Right.
At the time, it was the late 90s, and still there's a lot of sexism. So I thought about going to law school or med school, and I chose law school.
Med school, that's interesting. Well, law school never closes any doors. I've always said to people that it only increases your capacity to have people listen to you.
Agreed.
It's really quite amazing. So you went to law school, and then?
Then I graduated and got a job with the Illinois Attorney General's office in their Environmental Bureau, where you file civil complaints against polluters. So I did that against, you know, polluters basically in the top third of Illinois. And I worked there for a while. Then we had our son, Aiden, and I eventually moved to a law firm. But again, there I did feel like a square peg in a round hole. There was, you know, I think it was like 95% of men were at the top level of partners at that firm. And it just didn't feel right for me after a number of years. So feeling that, I left and worked for the state of Illinois at the Illinois Department of Public Health, and then another state agency that started the cannabis program. So I wrote all the code and started the whole program for the Illinois Medical Cannabis Program and worked there for a number of years. There was a switch in the administration. The new administration came in. The new governor didn't like the program. He felt very strongly about cannabis in a negative way, despite our discussions about it being medical and mostly for cancer patients who were using it for end of life. And it was a small program, but he really didn't like it. So I was very frustrated at not being able to do work.
Right.
So I thought, what could I do?
Make a difference, right.
Yes, because my ADHD was getting the better of me. I need to move. I need to feel like I'm accomplishing something.
You need you're contributing.
Yes. So I thought, if I'm not doing this, what should I do? And so I looked around and thought, I like my state rep and my state senator at the time. The alderman was doing a good job, but the county commissioner was a position I feel like nobody knows about.
Right.
I didn't feel like they were really getting out there and doing the job that should be done. So I decided to run against them, which in Illinois.
And to be seen.
Yes, but in Illinois, in Chicago politics, you don't run against people who are incumbents with strong family ties to the machine. So I got a lot of, guff, I guess, for that, but I won. So yeah, no,
That's fabulous.
I feel like it's,
You're making a difference.
I am. I definitely am, and that feels really good.
That's great. As we always say, life is never in a straight line, and you just have to say yes to what it is that surfaces, that catches your curiosity, and that you think you can do and contribute.
Agreed. Yes.
That's awesome. Thank you very much for sharing. Do you have
Thanks
any
for asking.
advice for any of the kids or adults out there that are struggling, trying to find their way in life?
I would say that if there's something you want to do, just try it. The failure isn't not being good at it. I'd say the failure isn't trying it and pulling those experiences into your life, because you never know where they're going to lead, not just professionally, but with meeting people. And those connections, I think, are what make your life into
And
this
you never know where they'll lead.
beautiful. Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Creating from the heart. See you next time.